You mentioned some of the priorities, and you talked about starting pitching for quite some time, and you guys officially announced Garrett Richards a couple days ago. Now, I'm curious about that because last season you took in the contract of Chase Headley in order to acquire Brian Mitchell, and so far I don't know that's panned out. Was it difficult to pass that along, considering he's not going to pitch at all in 2019?
No, I think with Garrett, again, I think we saw it as an opportunity. I think it's a pitcher that, when over the last few years in the American League, even pitching through injuries, from a quality performance standpoint, he's been one of the toughest guys to hit in the American League. It's 3 real plus pitches, fastball, curveball, slider. And he's a guy that, we understand that most likely the 19th season is going to be about rehabbing, getting ready for next year, for 2020. But, similar to we've seen some other pitchers in the past, Nathan Eovaldi this last year, took 2 years to come back, but the second year was in a really good spot. I think with Richards, we felt like it was a chance to get a guy that, can pitch at the front part of a rotation, a guy that, from a dollar standpoint, we felt like it was a I don't think gamble, but it was an upside play that we believe in the pitcher. We know what he's able to do, even pitching through injuries the last few years, and I think we really look forward to 2020 when he's healthy, being at the front part of our rotation.
Does a signing like that also put a signature that you expect the team to not just be competitive in 2020, but actually really compete for the NL West?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general we've never set like a specific time frame that it has to be this year, but I think I think we know we're going to have a lot of our guys here over the course of the next 2 years, and I think signing a pitcher like Garrett, I think indicates that maybe the last few years it was there were. A lot of the emphasis was, development even at the major league level. And I think with Garrett, when he's there, it's about winning. I think he's a guy that helps you win at the big league level, when he's pitching. So I think, the build up again, we're going to look to be competitive here this year. We also want to make sure we have as many options going forward in the future. As many guys can pitch at the top part of our rotation. I think we have a lot of guys internal that we expect to get better this year or come to the big leagues this year or in the future that could do that. Garrett's a guy from the outside that we think is going to be a front of the rotation guy for us next year.
I think this might be the third consecutive year we've asked you about Wil Myers and his future and where he's going to go ahead and play. Have you really had that discussion with Andy Green? Decided, we've seen him at third base, we've seen him in outfield, left and right and center, and this is what makes most sense?
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends, like we've talked about, a lot depends what happens with the roster over the course of the next few weeks. So I think Will gives us, position versatility. He's an athlete. He's willing to try really everywhere on the field. He's shown us that he's a really good corner outfielder defensively. This year I think he's one of the better corner outfielders, in left field. And I think it really depends a little bit on what happens from a personnel standpoint over the next few weeks, and we'll have those conversations. They're ongoing, but we'll start to talk to Will a little bit more here as we approach the holidays, and try to give him a sense of, hey, be ready to play in this one spot or be ready to move around, so that he's prepared going into spring training for what exactly his role is going to be.
Do you have a preference? Do you prefer him to go ahead and play one spot? I mean, I know you appreciate his versatility. You think that he can play really anywhere with his athleticism, but do you have a preference for him as to where he should be playing?
I think it's really like how it kind of plays out in terms of combination on the field. What's the best what's the best thing for the Padres? What's the best thing for our team? And I think for him a big part is just get healthy and go out and play. Have a full complete season. We've seen periods over the last few years where Will's gone out and been a really good player. We've seen him win Player of the Month awards. We've seen him make the All-Star team. And I think for us, like the biggest focus is just consistency. For the entire season, he's capable of that. We know that, and I think trying to get with him and understanding what he needs to do from a day-to-day standpoint, to be that player. I think that's the main part of our focus with Will.
How about his off-season plan? I mean, I think last year he mentioned he worked with a trainer. I think he put on more weight, and he later said that maybe that was part of the reason why he was injured. What's the plan for him for this off-season as far as his strength and conditioning?
Yeah, I think he's going to come in. He'll come in good shape. Again, like with Will, he's it's a good frame. He's a guy that when we signed the contract, I think a big part of it is we think he's going to maintain his athleticism, his power speed combination, throughout the entire portion of the contract. So that part for us isn't really a concern. I think the consistency component, staying healthy, and giving him some feedback on what position defensively. I think those are the most important things for us with Will. Knowing that I think he always shows up in good shape, ready to go.
How much interest have you had in your outfielders from other teams?
Yeah, I think that's one of the areas we get hit on. I think people see the performance of Hunter Renfroe, the performance of Franmil Reyes last year. I think they're guys that factor into our plans, but I think it also gives us some depth. So we have a group of young outfielders. Basically everybody I think Will's probably the senior member of the outfield, and I think they're guys that have gotten the attention of different teams around the league. And anytime you have depth, I think that's an area that other teams hit you on. So I think that's part of our conversations over the course of the last few months. And again, I think we like the competition, we like the depth, we like the guys that playing for us and building on the season that some of the guys had last year. But that's been some of the conversations over the last few months.
When you've talked to other GMs about some of their frontline talent, how many of them have asked about Fernando Tatis in return?
Yeah, I mean he's definitely a name that comes up, in a lot of conversations. But I think the part for us, again, I think the nice part for us is that there's a lot of names that come up. It's not just on one player. I mean we've had conversations really dating back to last year at the trade deadline, and there's a lot of guys in the system that people are seeing as potential carrying pieces in these deals. So Fernando is usually where people start, but I think there's just a lot of depth and a lot of quality and quantity that other teams are focused on. So I think we've kind of got past that point, and we'll see how it plays out.
Do those conversations last long? I'm just specifically when it involves a guy like Tatis.
Yeah, I think again, there's we've made it known that I think we're looking for Tatis to be part of the Padres for a long time, come up and develop him as somebody that's in our organization, somebody that's going to play for us, somebody we're developing through the minor leagues to be a big part of our good teams here in the next few years. So with anybody you always listen, but I think from our standpoint he's definitely a big part of our future.
You left once, right, for McDonald's? That was it? McDonald's?
Yeah, just one McDonald's run yesterday morning. So got to get out of this hotel at some point in time, but I'm sure we will. And just really depends too if how busy the days are in terms of the conversation. So there were a lot of conversations. We'll see what happens the next couple of days, how it relates to getting out of the hotel and some different food options.